We always like to end with some fun questions. So what's like the best infographic you've seen, and what's the worst one you've ever seen?
Oh, geez. The worst.
Why do they always start with the worst?
That sticks out more.
Well, no, I mean, to be entirely honest with you, the worst I've ever seen is the one I produced. The history of e-commerce. It's the first infographic I ever produced. It took 3 weeks for me to design it. I designed the whole thing in Photoshop instead of Adobe Illustrator, which was mistake number one. It's riddled with different fonts throughout because I kept changing my mind on the font I wanted to use. It's riddled with stock imagery throughout. I did the research as I went, which you can tell because at the very end, I just kind of jumble it all into the bottom because I was tired of changing the size of the canvas in Photoshop. It's truly one of the worst infographics I have ever seen.
Yeah, which one is it? Is that the one with the shop?
Yeah.
Was that the one with the shopping cart in there?
Yeah, that is.
So we had
the
one
history of e-commerce.
we had one pitch to us last week for the Marketing Tech blog, and whoever the artist was just copied and pasted the blurb for every section. And they didn't even notice. It was already published out there, so nobody actually read the infographic. So it was pretty funny. I just wrote it back. I was like, yeah, I think we'll pass. Thank you.
Nice.
We're actually looking at your infographic now.
Right
Amy.
now. That's why we
Yeah.
wanted to know.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, guys.
Oh,
I don't think it's that bad.
I like
Wow,
the bubbles are fun.
The .com bubble.
I've seen a lot worse.
Oh, yeah, that was when I found a bubble brush on graphicriver.net. I had learned what bubble brushes were, and then I had a lot of fun with that. Yeah.
I like it.
I would say one of the best, and this is definitely a very biased decision for best,
Right.
but it's by far my favorite project that we've ever done at Killer, and that's why it's the best in my mind. It is the Puget Sound Tech Universe. It's on our website. For me, it's something that's very near and dear to me. The reason being, in 2008, the Washington Technology Industry Association released an infographic showing the connection of all of the tech companies in the greater Seattle, Puget Sound region. And basically this infographic, which the design was very 90s, but it showed the connection of how Microsoft has basically spurned a bunch of companies in Seattle, and Amazon has spurned a bunch of companies, how they've created all of these really cool companies and created the economy of Seattle. And when I left my job in June of 2010, my boss at the time pulled me aside and pointed out that old poster, the one that was developed in 2008. He brought me to it. It was hanging up, and he said one day he would see my company on that poster. So it was always very near and dear to me. And last year, the Washington Technology Industry Association, in connection with Madrona Ventures, came to me and said, we want to redo this.
Right.
It took a year to gather all of the data. It took months to pour through the data. I was the one pouring through the data because I didn't want anybody else to touch it because I was so in love with this project. And one of our amazing designers put the whole design together. And it's what I love about it is when you understand the context of it, from afar, you immediately see that Microsoft, Amazon, the University of Washington, and Boeing are huge tech clusters in Seattle that have really grown the entire economy. And so that's what I love about it. It's this visual that shows the economic climate of the Puget Sound region. And then you can dive in and spend hours looking at it and connecting the dots and seeing how every different company is connected. So that's what I love about it because it's really fun. It's got a great purpose to it. It gives you great insight into a whole region. It was shown at the World Economic Forum because it shows exactly how to visualize an economy. And so for me, that's my absolute favorite. But again, I'm biased, and I have a huge reason behind it that I love it.